Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for September 12th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I'm here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday. The Big Brother 26 live feeds. It was day 58 in the house, and the nominees hit the campaign trail. They did their best, and the voters have maybe decided. We'll talk about it. And with me to talk about it is Asia. How you doing, Asia?
Hello, Taryn. I would like to revise a statement from the last time I was on a live feed update. I was so hard on the AI arena. I was like, let's get rid of it. We can't, nothing's for sure. And I believe it was a Thursday. And now I'm like, bring back the AI arena so we can, Thursdays have literally been the best episode all season. So now I'm just kind of like, oh, now that we have two solid noms and we know who they're voting for, just like, oh, okay.
It really is. It really is like that, you know?
Yeah. I
There's
mean,
no last minute scramble of like, if
yeah,
these 2 are on the block, we need to flip the vote. Like, yeah. And then, the campaigning is a little less fun as well because, like Quinn can't really campaign to Rubina and Tikor. But if there were 3 nominees and one of them was not Kimo, then he
right.
could campaign to Rubina and Tikor in a way that's more than just like, "Hey, guys."
Right. I know you're not gonna vote for me, but or vote to
Um,
keep me. Yeah, I know. I'm just like look, of all the twists, bring this one back. It doesn't have to be the AI arena. It could be the arena. It could just be this new format because it just brings so much excitement to Thursday, which they'll probably see when we get tonight's episode and we're like, oh.
yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, well, of course, as you all know, Chelsie, the HOH, nominated Kimo and Angela. Angela was vetoed off the block by Mackenzie, and Quinn was the replacement. Now the 2 of them are up on the block against one another. Quinn has Leah's vote. He, with Leah, probably might have Angela's vote. But if he wants to stay, he will need to convince pretty much just the full block of Cam, MJ, and Chelsie to stay, to keep him around. He has at various points convinced MJ and at least gotten Chelsie to be like, maybe. But Cam has remained locked in against Quinn. So really the story of the day is, can he convince Cam, and/or can he convince MJ and Chelsie to the degree that they don't care about what Cam wants?
I mean, we have a precedent here with the Joseph vote. So it's like it's not necessarily impossible, but it's one of those things where it's just not likely. Like, are they willing to risk Cam deciding like, okay, I'm done with y'all. I'm just gonna go with the trio, or I'm just not gonna be loyal to anybody and will just do whatever and just be a liability in the house. It just doesn't feel worth it for them to sacrifice Cam's loyalty just to keep Quinn. But it's just such a tough sell because what can Quinn's argument be at this point for Cam specifically?
I mean, I think the argument is that, like, with me gone, you will be the biggest target in the house. And what is stopping the trio of Chemo, Rubina, Tikor from targeting you? What's stopping Leah and Angela from joining that? What's stopping the next HOH from being 5v2 with you going on the block as the primary target, Cam? Because there's not really a solid answer to that other than, well, Quinn, with you gone, I'm probably going to win, which, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. It's like trying to convince him that this like 10% chance that the trio is going to beat Cam in like the couple of next HOHs. like trying to convince him that that matters. It's just like I just don't see Cam being. I mean, it's no mystery. He's not the strategic mastermind of the house. But it's just kind of like Cam is operating on vibes. And if he thinks that the vibes are not that the trio has a chance at beating him and uh Mackenzie, like I mean, he's thinking like him and Mackenzie have a great chance against T-Core, Rabina, and Chemo, even though we've seen like T-Core has had an HOH. That's possible, but he's probably thinking just not likely again.
I mean, they're all banking on a physical competition being the next HOH because the previous one was a quiz. And you know, they do tend to follow formulas like that.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
so, what are you gonna do? So here's what's happening today. Kimo and Quinn both kind of again they hit the campaign trail. And I've said this before. I think that the like campaign trail in Big Brother is like one of the most boring things on the feeds and on the show where it's like, all right, we're gonna do one-on-one campaign talks with the nominees because they're just saying the same things that they've been saying if they've been saying them, and if they haven't been saying them, then they're just saying the same things to each person most of the time. And a formal campaign setting like this rarely makes a difference. Now, I will say in this setting, with this cast, with the structure that they've laid out with the AI arena, the waiting until the last minute to campaign kind of thing and waiting till the last minute to actually make a decision kind of thing is more normalized. And so these campaigns might actually matter a little more than they normally do. Doesn't change the fact that I still found them very boring. Um,
Yeah.
but
Especially
yeah,
yeah, especially the fact that it's just like, oh, well, you have your laundry list. Oh, because Quinn started campaigning, now Chemo has to have his talks. And then Quinn's like, oh, I still need to talk to this person, and this person. And it just seems like they're just completing a checklist rather than like, this is a hard scramble. Like, I am making sure that I'm locking in these votes. We're actually making something happen more so earlier in the day than like late last night, but still it's just like what is the point? I know you feel like you need to do it, you can't not campaign, but just like it just has to be more impactful. And I just feel like, yeah, like you said, it's just uneventful when they go about it that way. Which is why it seems like Chemo at this point is like a shoe in to stay, because he is like already laid the groundwork for the votes are to keep him.
yeah, very rarely is a formal campaign like this introducing any kind of new information.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, let's wait the 6 hours of them campaigning to each individual person until we finally get the conversation between the actual people voting, where
Yes.
they talk about what they're going to decide based on that campaign. And most of the time, it's what we were going to do before anyway. But, you know,
Exactly.
it happens. They do the campaigns. And the more notable things, Chemo is going to go around. Angela's going to basically tell both of them that she's, you know, up for grabs. Quinn is offering things like, I'll be a pawn, I'll give up nominations if I win HOH. He's saying that to Chelsie. Your classic like fake offers. Um, and when Quinn is campaigning to Chelsie, I think very notably to Chelsie, to Cam, the issue remains that his campaign revolves around the five. The
Hmm.
five being himself, Chelsie, Cam, MJ, and Leah. And they don't like Leah like that.
Yeah.
They don't wanna work with Leah. So when he campaigns for the 5, it falls completely flat. And they even tries like, they start telling him this, like, "I don't know about Leah." And he's like, "No, I'm telling you, Leah's good with us. She knows she's got nothing else. She's gonna be loyal to it." And it's such a sticking point because, yes, Quinn staying can benefit their games in various ways, but not if he's super attached to Leah. Because if Quinn is always going to protect Leah over them, then how are they going to get Leah out? without pissing off Quinn. Like, at the very least. And then, if Quinn does win HOH, and what if they want him to nominate Leah? What if Leah is one of their next targets, which she is? Then is he really going to nominate Leah if Chelsie asks? Probably not. So this is an issue.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, it's really interesting because Quinn's not listening to them when they are telling him these things. Like even when he had a conversation with Cam yesterday where Cam's like, Leah threw you under the bus. Quinn's like, yeah, I don't know what's up with that. Like what, I talked to her and she said it wasn't really like that. And so it's like, well, yeah, Quinn. I mean, maybe like just get some more context to this to see like why are multiple people pushing this narrative, whether you believe it to be true or untrue. What was the context? What did she say exactly? Why, if they have this perception that that's the reality, no matter if she was not trying to throw you under the bus, they think she was. Like, so it's very interesting that he's trying to push this 5 because, okay, one person leaves, like let's say Kimo leaves. You're not going to have a trio of Angela, Rubina, and T-Core. That's not a trio. So it's like really the whole narrative here should be to break up the trio, paint the picture that how powerful this trio will be if they remain in the game when you have Angela as this outlier and you don't know which way she's going to go. Even this vote, you don't know which way she's going to go. But the fact that he's trying to push Leah so hard, oh, he's going to be so upset after this to like really learn that his loyalty to Leah was his downfall. Because just imagine a world where he's just like, okay, let me abandon this. I keep my relationship with Leah, but let me not try to enforce that on these 3 other people that I'm trying to work with. It's just, I don't know. It's just, maybe he just has googly eyes and can't see what the forest for the trees or whatever that saying is.
I don't think he's going to be upset.
Oh,
I think he's gonna stick it on as a badge of honor that, like, you know what? My downfall was Leah. What can I say?
yeah.
Can you blame me?
Look at her.
Yep. I think that's exactly what he's gonna say.
Dang. Oh my gosh. I feel like Quinn has started to grow on me in this past week. Obviously, we're getting these moments of a more vulnerable Quinn. And it's just like, him as a super fan, he's so excited to be in his house. Like, yeah, he's, gimmicky and stuff, but he is just genuinely excited to be there. He's young. This is the time of his life, right? And so it's just like, it's so hard to see that like he isn't able to, I guess, recognize this. You could just see it in his face. He already feels very defeated. I mean, those are the conversations he was having a couple of days ago. Just like, I know what's going to happen. I know. And it's just like, oh, Quinn, there's always a way. There has to be a way. But his way is with Leah.
Yeah. It's a problem. And Chelsie talks to Cam about it afterward, and they agreed that is the problem. It's maybe they would consider it if he wasn't so stuck on Leah. But he is. So that kind of kills it for now. So another thing that's been going on throughout the day is that word is starting to really get around about Kimo and how he eats. Chelsea's complaining about it in her Cam talks. Quinn is saying, T-Core, why did you point it out to me? Now I can't ignore it anymore. Like I think about it every time now.
Chelsie described it as when she's sitting next to him eating, she feels like she has to automatically start eating like it's her last meal. She is so funny to me.
It's not, listen, it's not been as bad for me because it's not like there are fewer like Kimo game talks where he's eating that like are really important. So it's like, as long as you're not in power, as long as T-Core's not the HOH and you're slurping down some ramen while you're talking about who's going to be nominated, like it's a lot easier.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's like, oh, well, you know, these little annoyances could contribute to wanting someone out. Like, oh, he is on the block.
Yeah. Um, so he talks to Rubina. It's kind of a weird conversation because there's still just this weird kind of like Rubina has always really liked Quinn, and she really did want to make it work with Quinn and Tucker and and the Underdog Alliance. And she's trying to tell this to Quinn. You know, this is obviously not a real campaign conversation, um, but she's trying to tell this to Quinn, but like, you know, I really did want to work with you. I really did want to make this happen. And Quinn just still is kind of just like, yeah, I just never really believed that. Still
Yeah.
don't.
And it's all because of Tucker. When
Well,
it's like,
I think it's largely because of Tucker. And granted, I think Tucker kicked it off by, you know, calling him out about the power. But I think it's also like she was the one person that was upset with him about keeping the power to himself. The one person that like had a conversation with him about like that was like the big moment in his game when he got called out for having the power. It was the first time he was like super vulnerable. And everyone in the house other than Tucker, was super chill with it, except for Rubina.
yeah.
And I think he never forgot that feeling. And even though she quickly got over it and was one of Quinn's biggest defenders all season long, he just never believed that it was true. And so you know, it's even now in this conversation, it's just like there's just you know there's just a barrier there.
I also think it could be like a very like subconscious thing with Quinn where he probably equates Tucker and Rubina and him and Leah and thinking like, oh, if they had gotten Leah out, I would be like after them. There'd be nothing they could say. So he's probably thinking like, there's no way Rubina would ever work with me because I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, yeah. Weirdly, you know, it's actually I think it's a pretty common occurrence for a showmance to lose their showmance partner and end up working with the person that got out their showmance. Um,
You said
like
it's a common
yeah, it
occurrence?
happens a lot actually. Now, like when I'm thinking back, when I'm thinking through, like
Yeah.
I'm thinking like Brendan working with the brigade after they got
Yeah.
out Rachel. You know, like you could even maybe say like, look at how MJ's turned around.
Right.
Like, granted, that
Right.
was barely anything, but
Right.
you know, like things really they do really shift around and you know, I don't know if you can like cuz I think part of it too is that like it might depend on how you got out that person.
Right.
But like usually the people that you're like vowing vengeance against you know, it doesn't always work that way. I think it's not quite as you tend to feel more aggrieved at personal slights than, you know, slights against your partner, even when, you know, you might feel like that's not the case, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And like I get at the wildest part about this Quinn and Rubina dynamic is that Quinn is the barrier here. Like if
Yeah,
Quinn was willing and open and ready to work with her, Rubina would be so down.
yeah. Quinn also talks to T-Core and he talks to Kimo separately, and these are more of the same in terms of like, oh man, wish we could have done something. Um, Notably though, Quinn basically kind of tells the both of them separately that he's probably gonna vote for them in the final 2 if they make it there. He tells Tikor, like, "You're super, super impressive, socially one of the best players ever. You're also great at comps. I really wanna see you in the end." Basically telling her she's got his vote. Uh, Also tells Kimo they really connected early on. He had a really special relationship with Kimo, and they have this touching conversation about, you know, being in each other's lives moving forward. And he tells Kimo too, like, I really want to see you make it to the end. And so, you know, obviously Leah is another thing, but you're starting to, I think, get the tier list for order preference for Quinn for who he might vote for. I think probably Leah at the top, but then like T Core, then maybe Chemo over Chelsie, maybe, I don't know. He's also, you know, he also feels good about Chelsea's gameplay, but he does feel that really close personal connection to Kimo. And he says, like, you're super impressive in terms of the speeches that you give, and like that was a really smart thing to do. And so I don't know. Well, I do think where Quinn falls will matter on the jury. So
Yeah.
it's interesting to see this.
And it's also, if Quinn goes, and obviously everyone else doesn't know this, like that Quinn has this perspective of T-Core and Kimo, but if Quinn goes now, he's not seeing T-Core and Kimo as the ones getting him out, because if it wasn't him, it was going to be Kimo. And so it's like he's going to be the biggest champion for Kimo and T-Core, when it's like that's not good for a Chelsie or a Mackenzie or a Cam.
Yeah.
So,
They didn't get him out, but you could still say that their good gameplay was responsible for tricking the house guest that he wanted to work with
mhm.
to get him out instead of them, which is
Yeah.
like the best possible way that you can get somebody out in
Yeah.
the game.
Exactly.
Um so Chelsie and MJ do talk some about Quinn's pitch as well. After Chelsea's talk with Cam, where they were like, it's just Leah's the problem. Chelsie and MJ a little more open to it when they talk. They do think there's value to him staying. They do believe him. They do think that they could work with him. But not if he's going to be working with Leah.
Right? That's always that but, that big but. What does AJ say? Comma but. It's
Yeah.
just like it's always it comes back to Leah. They see these benefits and they start talking it through, and they're like, wait, but like we have Chemo on the block. T-Core is like the biggest threat of those three. So like, if you take out Chemo, then you only have T-Core and Rabina to worry about. And we could try to take her out in a double. But then dang it. But Quinn wants to work with Leah.
Yep. And because Leah let it slip to MJ that she's got Angela willing to vote for Quinn to stay, they now know that Leah still has Angela locked in, which means Leah is that much more dangerous, which means we can't let her also have Quinn. And so it's just a problem. That becomes a trio themselves, and that's a more dangerous trio than the T-Core trio. So it's tough. It's tough to allow that to happen.
It's also, though, how do you feel about them fearing a potential trio over an actual trio?
I mean, I certainly feel some ways about it for MJ.
Yeah.
Um, for Chelsie, I mean, we've talked about this, but for Chelsie, it's fine because T-Core is protecting Chelsie. And so, MJ, Cam, they're the collateral here. Chelsie is fine. Whereas
Mhm.
with a potential Quinn, Leah, by extension, Angela trio, who knows what they will do? We know what they will do. At least we know what Leah will do, which is maybe Chelsie. That's really dangerous for Chelsie. So giving them power over giving T-Core's trio a power, it makes sense for Chelsie. Grant, okay, I keep saying, I need to make sure this is clear. I keep saying this. Chelsea's not saying this. This is
Yeah.
not Chelsea's logic whatsoever. So like, I just want to make that clear. This is not what Chelsie is thinking. It's certainly not what MJ is thinking. In their minds, it's more about Quinn just being dangerous, Leah being dangerous, and them thinking that they can beat the other trio in competitions.
Mhm. Yeah, it's tough. But it's like, yeah, I can't blame Chelsie with even her logic, because it's like she's safe. Like that trio is not a threat to her. Then like, oh, okay, somebody else that I'm working with is a casualty. I'm fine, so that's okay.
Right. That's my logic, not
Yeah.
Chelsea's necessarily.
Well, no. But Chelsea's logic is the fact that she's protected by the trio. Simply.
What I'm saying is that I haven't heard her actually express that.
Gotcha. Okay. So
But
I had
and why would
assumed
she?
she realized
Y
that. Yeah.
Right, like, I don't know, like, I don't know exactly what, like, we haven't heard her express that in the diary room. or to the cameras, and certainly not to any other players.
Yeah.
In my head, she's protected by that trio. I know this because I see their conversations.
Right.
Um, I
But
don't
you
know if
don't
she
know.
actually thinks that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to make that just to make
Yeah.
that clear.
Abundantly clear. Yeah.
um, so Angela does make a campaign herself a bit here. She talks to MJ, and she actually does campaign a little bit for Quinn. That like, hey, you know what? I love Chemo, but he's got some numbers, and Quinn doesn't really have those numbers. And MJ's like, no, I agree with you. That's why we got to take a shot at that trio next week. Um, and Angela also mentions, well, I just think that it's a little dangerous to keep that trio around because, you know, Chelsea's not going after T-Core. T-Core's not going after Chelsie. And it's like, whoa! How is Angela the only one that's putting this out?
But no one listens to her.
It's because her and Leah have been talking about this.
Yeah.
Um, which is why, why the two of them are probably going to put the two of them on the block if they win HOH, which is why I kind of hope it's not physical because it would be more interesting if it was not physical. But we're gonna have physical competitions.
Yeah, oh, I'm just thinking about the time and the effort on that veto. I still need to listen to the recap last night, but woo, for 2
Um,
minutes of play.
so yes, and I'm sure this goes in one ear and out the other for MJ, considering the way she's been playing, uh, but, again, and okay, I think part of the reason I'm bringing up I don't think that Chelsie necessarily has the same logic that I do is because of a conversation that Chelsie will have later with Cam and MJ about T-Core, and we'll get to that. Um, so this might not be quite as big of a problem as they might think it is. It should be, but does Chelsie actually go along with that is another story. Chelsie talks to Leah. Um, and it's a long conversation, and it doesn't really particularly seem to go anywhere. It's one of those, like, "Let's finally clear the air. We're friends again. We'll hug. Like, here's what happened in the last few days. Here's why I felt this way. Here's why I felt this way." And it's like, look, listen, it's fine conversation, I think. It's, they cleared some air. Chelsie apologizes. Leah apologizes. Like, there's a little bit of campaigning in here that, hey, Quinn, he is really going to be loyal to that five, and Chelsie is saying like, look, I didn't put Quinn on the block because of you, and hey, we should really be talking more. And like in real life, this is a great conversation. In the game, it's placating.
Mhm.
Like they didn't actually connect here. It might have been enough. It's one of those things. It's like it opens the door. It's a door opening conversation, very long one, where, you know, if Leah wins HOH, that door is open for Chelsie to come in and be like, "Hey, remember that conversation? Let's talk
Mhm.
some more. And maybe you don't put me on the block." But right now, especially given that the votes are still locked against Quinn, it's probably more of just like a little bit of a softening. Maybe Leah isn't quite so mad at Chelsie. Maybe Leah's a little more likely to vote for Chelsie in the final two because of this conversation. It's that kind of conversation.
Yeah. Less about impacting this week, more about just trying to make sure that like they're in an okay place moving forward if
Mhm.
Quinn should go. Because I don't think it was, yeah, strong enough. Like there wasn't a strong enough like persuasion like trying to happen in this situation to really like you said, it was just placating. So if if it was going to impact this week, we would have walked away from that conversation like, wow, okay, they had a great conversation.
If this conversation had happened Monday, maybe Quinn stays. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like because it would have opened that door a little bit. They could have been communicating more, and then Quinn being stuck on Leah isn't so much of a problem because now Leah has a better relationship with Chelsie, and so on and so forth. Those dominoes maybe fall, but this conversation happening Wednesday night, probably not enough time for it to sink in for that sticking point to be removed for Quinn to actually make enough progress here. Um, so, I say that there's still a day today. There has been some changes that have occurred on Thursdays before, but we'll get through the rest of today and see if that seems possible at this point. It's I would not say it is like 100% by any means, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, and even the fact that like Chemo's emotional plea was able to persuade Chelsie, and in this situation, if there is a 3-3 vote and it's on Chelsie, and Quinn is able to appeal to Chelsie in a way that Chelsea's like, wow, okay, like it just has the opposite effect. That I don't know if Chemo can deliver the same impassioned speech because he's not thinking he's going home. He thinks he's okay. So Quinn may pull at heartstrings more. Could be as simple as that.
Could be. Quinn does get the 5 together. And it's an awkward interaction of like, "Hey guys, here's my offer. I totally should stay." And like they're hanging out a little bit and they're like, "Yeah, this is fun." And he's not really getting any promises. Um, but he feels like it went well.
Yeah. Quinn has just turned into just a sweet, sweet Quinn.
I saw somebody say this was like Jag's meeting before he got voted out.
Yeah.
Like, where Jag was like, "I think we got it,
Yeah.
guys."
Exactly.
Maybe not quite that bad, but yeah, not great.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe if he were able to like take a step back and be like, wait, what did they actually say in that conversation? Then he could
Mhm.
read better into it.
So him and Leah, they're kind of like, are we maybe good? Like, I don't know. I feel like it might be okay. Which, is I think less so being actually convinced and more so just kind of coping. More so just kind of being like, well, that was as much as I can do. So hopefully, like, cross your fingers.
Right.
Yeah.
That was his Hail Mary, that this one conversation with the 5 that he's been pitching, and it just wasn't like this overwhelming. This wasn't the leftovers getting together. Like it wasn't that type of passion and excitement. So yeah, it's tough to see because if he thinks that was his last effort, then it's hard to imagine what he's going to do today, as in Thursday before the eviction. But like you said, what matters more are the people voting, less what Quinn and Kimo are able to do at this point. So if the other people voting have now slept on it and are thinking, hey, let's blow up the Pentagon type of situation, where it's just like, hey, we are willing to, we need to keep Quinn. Like it takes a Chelsie or I don't think Cam would say that, but I think if someone who is voting has that feeling today, then I think that would be more impactful than relying on Quinn to do something.
Something that Quinn has been very bad at all season long is like locking in and like final checks. Like everyone is locked in. Everyone, you have agreed to do this. And so there's a chance that he is way too like just go with the flow today. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
done everything I can. What he definitely needs to do is just go to Chelsie and MJ again. Talk to them together. Talk to Cam again. Um, like keep going to them until you get a promise from them, uh, one way or the other, essentially. Don't just sit there and hope, because I don't think that sitting there and hoping is going to be enough, and it never should be if you are on the block, unless you're Chemo, apparently. Chelsie, Cam, and MJ, they do talk about the meeting. They talk about Quinn again, and this is the thing. Quinn kind of got Chelsie. He offered to give up his HOH to her, essentially. He made the pitch about the trio. He seems to have gotten into her head about the danger of the trio. She's now talking about T-Core as the biggest threat in the game, and how if you sit next to T-Core in the final two, you lose. This is a problem for Chelsie in her mind. I don't think it's a problem for Chelsie because T-Core is really good for her game right now. But in her mind, T-Core seems to be a little bit of an issue now. And she's starting to think about maybe there are some benefits to keeping Quinn. The problem is when she mentions this, Cam says, no. No. That's just not the move. It's just not. We will be winning the competitions if Quinn is gone. And despite the light pushing that Chelsie makes here because she doesn't want to push too. I'm not saying one way or the other. Like I'm open to both, but here are the arguments. Cam shuts them all down. He does not want Quinn to stay. He again brings up the Leah problem, and Chelsie pretty much backs down here, and conversation shifts to plans for next week.
Yeah, I mean, and unless Chelsie thinks like, wait, I'm not about to let Cam decide what I'm doing this week. If she thinks, oh, well, Cam is right in the situation, I need to just stop second guessing it, then that's what's going to happen. But that is interesting because it could allow Chelsie to take a step back and be like, okay, Cam is not flexible, not even willing to kind of hear me out in this situation. Like she could read more into it beyond just the Quinn vote, but reading into further in the game and trying to make other decisions. Because that's what I would think is like, you're HOH, Chelsie. Like, who do you want to go? Like, and that's the agenda you could try to push. But then Cam is acting like he has, like, I mean, obviously he has power over his vote, but like she could also see it as he doesn't have power over my vote. Like I would be the decider.
And I'm still just baffled at like, like, listen, this is just my perspective, but like, I just feel like Chelsie is pushing for the opposite of what she should want.
Mm-hmm.
And now talking about, again, T-Core is a bigger threat than Kimo or Rubina. What? It's true, but why are you saying it, Chelsie? Right. This is your biggest asset in the game that they're going after Kimo and Rubina over T-Core, and T-Core is going to make sure that Kimo and Rubina don't go after you because if Kimo and Rubina had their own minds in the game again, they'd probably be going after you.
Exactly. T-Core goes, nothing stopping Kimo and Rubina from targeting Chelsie.
And all of a sudden, people like MJ and Cam are free to take players like Kimo and Rubina to the end. They can't take T-Core. So this is why I thought this was a good move for you, Chelsie, that it sets you up really well. What are you talking about? T-Core is a big threat. This is not what you should be doing. This is what MJ and Cam should be doing. MJ and Cam, why are you not doing this?
Right.
Everyone's playing against their interests.
Which is why this season is so good. It's so entertaining.
Meanwhile, you have T-Core talking about protecting Chelsie and going after Cam and MJ.
These people are funny.
Yeah. Anyway. So that's kind of what they're talking about. Cam wants Kimo and Leah gone soon. Those are the next people out after Quinn. And so like there's this discussion from both trios about like who's next. Do we go after Angela and Leah? If so, which one? Or do we go after the other trio? If so, which one? For MJ, Cam, and Chelsie, they're going after Kimo, although Chelsie seems to be trying to shift them a little bit to T-Core. And then on T-Core's side of things, T-Core's been talking to Rubina and Kimo and has a late conversation, as always, with Rubina about how Chelsie, Cam, and MJ, they're kind of like a trio of their own. And they're all big comp threats. They should really be bigger threats than us. What's going on? Should we be targeting them? And if so, we'd be targeting MJ and Cam, not Chelsie. Or should we be targeting Leah and Angela? And Rubina prefers Leah and Angela being targeted right now. And so there's all these discussions about should we target Leah Angela or should we target the other trio? And honestly, I think that right now these discussions are useless. I
Yeah.
think that this will not matter. Like these players are not used to planning ahead of time enough for any of this to matter. Somebody's going to win HOH and they're going to restart their conversation. And they're going to look around and things are going to look different than they do now because Quinn will be gone probably in this scenario. And they might think they want to target Leah right now, but once they get there, they might feel differently. It's a new landscape. They might have a conversation with Leah and it might feel good. They might look at those other three. They might see that they just barely beat Cam in that competition, and it wasn't a physical one, which means there is a physical one coming soon, and maybe
Hmm.
really dangerous. And maybe that means they do want to take a shot at that trio. Maybe they saw MJ rooting for Cam in the competition and they realize, wait a minute, we are silly if we're not targeting them. Or maybe they do put Leah and Angela up, but then they go, wait a minute, maybe we should backdoor somebody. Like there are all kinds of different ways that I think these two trios who are glancing over at each other, they're like, no, we're focusing on Leah. We're definitely Leah is a problem.
Hmm.
Leah, like there's a little bit of a standoff here, and I'm feeling like this dam is gonna break soon.
Absolutely. Because until it's next week and whoever is in power and they actually think, well, wait, we could have Leah and Angela on our side by not going after them. We could get out someone that we know is a threat to our game. So it's very yeah, that's why I'm thoroughly enjoying this season is because things are truly changing week to week. It's not like, well, we know what the next 3 weeks are going to look like. Absolutely not with this group of people.
Not so far. All right. Well, that's basically what I've got. As of today, again, what we're looking for is can Quinn go to Chelsie again and say, hey, how's it looking? And will Chelsie say, I'm feeling it, but I don't know about Cam? Or will she say, like, things are good? Or will she say, sorry, Quinn, it's just not going to happen? What is her response? And what is his response to that? Does he go and talk to Cam? Does he try and flip Chelsie again? Does he get Chelsie, Cam, and MJ in a room together? Because he should be getting the three of them in a room together without Leah. Can he convince them? Can he get Chelsie and MJ to do what they did last time? You guys don't need Cam, right? I think it's going to be harder to do it this time, but where does Cam have to go?
Yeah,
You know?
literally.
Uh
It's like, no,
so
I'm sticking with Angela.
but like why would they feel strongly enough about it to do that? Like so there are different ways that things could still potentially shift here, but it's definitely looking tricky for Quinn. We're definitely trying to see if he can pull anything else out of his hat here to make it happen. Otherwise, we are likely looking at a Quinn eviction and then a very important HOH coming forward tonight. So that's what to look out for. Asia, anything else from yesterday that we should talk about?
Yeah, I'd just like to point out that people are getting to witness. I know we get this season over season, but specifically with this season, we're getting to witness the transformation of black hair. You see the amount of time it's taking
Mhm.
to take out T-Core's braids.
Yeah.
It takes a long time. The amount of times I've had to enlist a friend to help me take out my braids because it takes so long. You do it by yourself easily. It's going to take you 8 to 12 hours. And it takes just as long to put them in depending on if you have one or two people helping you, but I think it's cute to see the help. There was like a picture and it was like of T-Core in the middle and everyone helping take her braids out. I was like, oh, T-Core's influence, the power that she has, which is just hilarious because it's just like it is an intimate process. But I love that we're getting to see that here on the live feeds. But yeah, that's why I have locks down because the amount of time it would take to maintain that is just too long.
Yeah, it's a long
Yeah.
time. It's longer than the Leah Chelsea conversation,
Yeah,
and that's saying
exactly.
something.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was always so impressed with I think it was Tiffany she would take out some of her braids and she would rebraid them, and they always looked so fresh, but she was like maintaining it on her own. But I'm excited to see T-Core in her natural hair, because I've seen pictures and it's beautiful.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is what we have for you then today. Of course, I'll be back tomorrow morning at, I believe we'll be back to 11 a.m. Eastern tomorrow for the update because we won't have an exit interview. At least I think. I assume. Uh, so stay tuned for that. We'll have plenty to talk about tomorrow morning, I'm sure. Find me over on Twitch as well. I'll be watching tonight's episode live. And then after the episode, we will be on the podcast here with Andy Heron, as you can see in the graphic there. We've also got the Issa look for Survivor 47 going on today. If you want to check that out. Find the scripted stuff we're doing. The Circle just started. Check out our Circle coverage. We're having fun with that. I'm also going to be streaming today about Survivor. Aysha, I have not watched your interview. I mean, Aysha has interviews. She does interviews. I have not watched the Survivor interviews, and I'm going to be watching them on Twitch today. If you want to watch my reactions to those, so tune in for that. All right, Aysha. Anything else? What do you got going on?
Yeah, so y'all can follow me at Aysha like Asia and on social media to see what else I have going on. That's AYSHA like ASIA. Most recently, I was on the Diary Room pod with Matt Lagori and Amon Adwin. So that was a fun time. It's a very unique podcast. So definitely had fun over there. So that was released this week. And yeah, anything else I have going on, you can see it on my socials.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us here today. And I will see all of you next time.